Nothing is worth more than its actual cost. Have this in your mind. How devil controls us. And what I've understood by reading this book is that in devil, author means stupidity, ignorance. Stupidity and ignorance. This is what it means by the devil. So, when I mention devil, I mean these two things. And one of the more powerful ideas of this book is, hey, hell is not something after. Hell is here on earth. Most people literally on earth already live in hell. This is the powerful idea of the book. And here's the mechanisms, by the way. This devil controls humans. The 6 most efficient fears are, and yes, it's our fears. The fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age and death. And fear of poverty and fear of death are one of the most powerful fears, which the devil likes to use. And here's the philosophy of fear for the devil. Fear of the thing which does not exist is just as useful to me as fear of that which does exist. Because it's in your head, right? It's just as good for the devil if you're already afraid. And if you're afraid of something that's not even real, it's just as good. So, who are the enemies of the devil? So-called the devil, right? Who are the enemies of the devil? Who are the enemies of stupidity and ignorance? Obviously, men who think are enemies of the devil. Men who can think for themselves. Through reading this book, the devil many times tells the author kind of this thing. Of course, after it's imagination stuff, but at the same time it holds so much truth in it. Like devil warns author, I have many followers. My followers will crucify you in terms of your finances and freedom. Don't publish this thing. Don't publish this thing. My followers are powerful. I have many followers. And they will crucify, etc. They will criticize you. They will deprive you from your opportunity, and etc. So, now, out of every 100%, majority, 98% are, or out of 100% or out of 100 people are in this type of people. Author says 98, but out of every 100% is slave of the devil, basically. Slave of the stupidity and ignorance. Now, basically the devil says, deliberately discourage people from accumulating material wealth because poverty discourages men from thinking and makes them easy prey for me. My next best friend is ill health. An unhealthy body discourages thinking. Pay attention to what you eat. Pay attention to how it says unhealthy body also. Very interesting, very, very, very unique book. I mean, fascinating book, by the way. This book is amazing. A different type of the book you have to read many times. You can't just simply take enough from one read. I get what I want by exercising self-control. The devil says it himself, basically. So exercising self-control. Yeah. Self-control for us, is powerful thing. Self-control. Exercising it. And most powerful and important word here is exercising self-control. Yes, because it means that you can exercise your self-control. You can train it. And this is thing you have to mind, right? What you put your mind, what you razor blade, focus, like what you focus like hell, and you keep repetition, you can gain anything by that. Marcus Aurelius said this saying, right? If it's don't think that something is humanly impossible, and if it's humanly possible, then it's possible to you as well. Now, failure. This is important, very important. How you look at the failure. There's two things I learned from this. You can profit by failure, and that failure, in fact, is just temporary defeat. So then don't let temporary circumstances, temporary defeats, temporary life events, temporary people, etc. decide your entire life. And when he was discussing about failure, I remember the thing I was, so-called, I felt down myself, and I was like, how could I fail? But no, look at the positive side of the failure. If you don't fail, you don't learn. If you don't fail, these four things don't crash. That failure brought me here. But I remember I was looking at the failure as something negative, something bad. My perception of the failure was flawed because I did not pay attention to the humongous advantages of that failure that event brought to me. I was just looking at the negative side of this thing. I did not pay the positive side, like, could not ever be compared. Positive is like literally cannot be compared. It's so vast compared to this thing, temporary defeat. Because I did not experience failure, I knew that. I experienced temporary defeat, not failure. Temporary defeat. And things I gained from and learned from the temporary defeat are overwhelming. So sometimes you have to change your perspective, and this is why I'm urging you to read this book. This book will detailedly give you explanation from in much more deeper stuff. Like it will explain to you much more better. Idea of what kind of perception you have to have it. Perspective. Yeah, could have the failure been avoided? Hell yeah. But have you gained humongous things from that failure? Hell yeah, that's also true. Now, overindulgence in sex, in anything, is bad for you. Overindulgence in sex starts more mean to drifting toward failure than all the other causes combined. Basically, drifting is when you are essentially basically wasting your life, wasting your time, miserable. This is what drifting is. It's a vast definition. Not only that, but yes, it's a negative definition. Basically, drifting is not good, but everybody drifts at some point. So, overindulgence in sex in anything, and after very well explained it. Don't overdo it. Don't give yourself to last, but it's desire just as eating food. But you don't have to just like you should not be eating till you're full, so your health is ruined. You have to be paying attention to this thing, pay attention to this obsession, such as cigarette, drinking, etc. Cigarette and drinking are not just like sex. You can simply say no to cigarette and drinks. But sex and food are different things. They're essential stuff, but you don't have to overdo it, overindulge or something. You don't have to make it from addiction. You have to have it under control, and don't have to overdo it. Now, cigarette and alcohol are completely different stuff. There's no point why you should be. You can simply avoid it. But now, if you are very deep into it, it will be very difficult for you. So you have to seek help from anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous groups, right? There are lots of that groups around the planet. I have no experience in this stuff. I don't smoke there. I drink, and for me it takes dedication to pay attention, because people around me, in fact, do smoke and drink, but I'm like, no, I don't want. Like sometimes like, no, do you smoke? No, do you want to smoke? No, thank you. Very simple. Very simple when you are not in it and you understand it. But I always understood this negative consequence of drinking stuff, but I never paid attention to the idea of the sex and how it works, and it's paid to overindulge in it. But now thinking about it and also thinking about this food thing, it makes sense. It's very valuable. Like, this book generally is amazing. Why I should have read this book much more earlier, which I kind of had this regret in my head while I was reading this book. I was like, oh, I should have read this book much more earlier. Like, amazing. But I didn't expect this book to be to so much, so many things I just did not mention here, because I was like, I cannot take all these things. So when I read this book, I will pay attention to these things. So I'm planning to, and I will read this book. So I was planning to pay attention to other things, because you cannot just pick, there are things that you have to pay attention. And I remember in first read, this book is that good to read every year a couple times. This book is that's good, like, very great book. There's 3 things in life which mosquito was here. I know. Wants to drink my blood, but let's ignore this creature. There's 3 things, and get back to work. There's 3 things which you have to be aware of. Your intimate partner, which decide everything in your life. Your intimate partner, place you live in, basically people you live with, and co-workers, but basically people you indulge in business. Maybe indulge is not the right word in this case, but basically people this is how I understood this, that people you work with, people who do stuff, people you interact with in your work daily life. These 3 things are very important. You have to pay these things attention to. It's very important. It's very powerful stuff to pay these 3 things attention, because you habits. You will start with same habits, just like behavioral habits. Also, the habits of negative. There's literally habits. You will pick habit of these people, thoughts. But I don't think that you are enslaved and you are powerless in this situation. It's the second case. First case is very different. In first case, when it's an intimate partner, you have to think about it. If you guys don't match, just keep walk on your separate ways. But second stuff is, also have to add some point. But I think the first one is much more powerful influence. The second one, how deep this stuff goes, because this consciousness stuff, like just your house. So basically, then the country you live in, place you live in, city you live in, that should also have an influence, but of course in different scales. But he don't mention it in the book. But he did mention 3 most powerful things. People you interact with. Who are that people? It's very important to interact with bright people. And also a great feeling. You also feel yourself great. Oh. But it's up to personal choice. But if you're watching this, it's obvious that you should be interested in that thing. Now, you need this principle of mastermind, and he talks about this mastermind principle in his laws of success and Think and Grow Rich as well. Basically, people that are dedicated to achieve the same goal and have different expertise in life. Without mastermind, it's almost next to impossible to achieve what you want to achieve. No great achievement. Like, there is no. When you start putting thing in practice, everything starts with idea, but when you start putting in practice, you need a team. Ideas are the beginning of all human achievements. Find those good ideas. Start implementing them. You don't need the best idea. You just have to be persistent and understand this, and understand that you just face temporary defeat. This is so important. Temporary defeat. This temporary situation, temporary defeat. It's not a failure. That failure don't define you as a human being. It's a temporary situation. Keep fighting. Keep producing. Keep expanding yourself. This book really amazing book. Only permanent thing in the universe is change. Everything changes. Everything changes. Absolutely everything. Nothing stays in the same form. So far we know it. Even stars die. And their lifespan is much more big than ours. People are not born with wisdom, but they are born with the capacity to think. And they may, through the lapse of time, think their way into wisdom. It takes time. You will reap what you sow. But it takes time to reap what you have sown. It takes time. And the definition of wisdom is understanding the laws of nature and interacting with it correctly, and also interacting with other people based on these laws of nature. Yeah, have this in your mind, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't.